going to be okay.
You'll be fine, inshallah.
In the UK, some 5 million major operations are carried out every year.
Nerves are kicking in now. Good luck, we've got it.
We'll keep you safe, okay?
But some patients' procedures are so complex, only the most skilled surgeons can perform them.
There's adrenaline,
Knife, please.
anxiety,
Lock on, please.
but as soon as you make the incision, everything goes.
Let's focus.
Serving Edinburgh and the surrounding area, NHS Lothian pioneers techniques to treat conditions that few others dare to take on.
You can consider it as a ticking time bomb.
But the cutting edge of modern medicine presents huge challenges.
Every time we operate, there is a risk that things can go wrong.
I'm in difficult territory.
Stop. Don't want to go any deeper than that. I think we'll damage her.
Anything less than perfection
We have a bit of a bleed.
can have grave consequences.
Tube clamp.
The surgeons
Looks very abnormal, doesn't it?
bear the ultimate responsibility.
We can't offer 100% success in everything that we do.
Take that away from me. Give me this, thanks.
You wouldn't be human if you didn't feel the pressure.
You need to be very quick now.
You okay?
This is what really happens behind the closed doors
That's a big chunk of the tumour.
of their operating theatres.
You've done something for this person that can prolong their life.
Beautiful. You can see the pulse.
You're waking up. Everything's gone really well.
It's one of the biggest privileges
I've got good news.
to help people the way we do.
The Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh opened the world's first coronary care unit in the 1960s. It now performs over 900 heart operations every year.
Hello, Edinburgh Royal Infirmary Theatres.
Renzo Passotto is one of its leading cardiothoracic surgeons.
Good morning. Can I have a flat white, please? Cardiac surgery is at times a difficult discipline because you're working on an organ that is important to keep you alive. Oh, thank you very much. Robbie, have a lovely day. Bye-bye. I feel very privileged for people trusting me with their life.
Renzo has a patient with a failing heart, and without surgery, he may die within a year. 2 of his 4 heart valves are damaged, and blood is leaking back into the heart instead of being pumped out.
Unfortunately, there's no other options than open heart surgery, quite an extensive operation.
Renzo plans to repair the 2 faulty valves, a risky operation for any 78-year-old, especially this one, who has a tissue disorder that affects just 1% of the population.
He has ankylosing spondylitis, which is a condition that affects the building blocks of his organs and tissues, in particular the heart. Well, that means that tissues can easily tear. They're not as strong as they should be. If things don't go well, the patient might not survive the operation. He probably has a risk of mortality of about 10%, I would say.
That seems very high to me.
Yeah, it is quite high risk.
You don't want it to end because you've still got a lot to live for.
Retired police officer Ian lives just outside Dundee.
Without the operation, I was going to live basically with heart failure for the rest of my life, which could be only 12 months. Pajamas in.
Mm-hmm. This is someone who was in the army and he's very good at packing.
Ian has been physically fit all his life. Dee, his wife of 40 years, has watched his rapid decline over the last year.
I mean, he has gone down so much, and I had gotten to the way of thinking that if they didn't hurry up with the op, I was going to lose him anyway. Now we're ready to go. It's a bit scary, isn't it, for me?
It is very difficult for the other person, not so much for the person who's actually under the knife at the time, because you either come out or you don't.
Obviously, I do not want to lose him. He's part of me. He's not at the side of me. He's within me.
Quality of the mitral valve leaflets suggesting a repair will be possible. However, we'll replace the aortic valve tomorrow.
Heart valves have leaflets, flaps of tissue that act like trapdoors, ensuring blood flows in one direction. The leaflets of 2 of Ian's valves aren't closing properly, and blood is leaking backwards. To fix them, Renzo must first stop Ian's heart. Tubes inserted in the heart and aorta will be connected to a cardiopulmonary bypass machine, which will do the job of the heart and lungs during surgery. Once the heart is stopped, Renzo will first place a ring made of elastic alloy around the mitral valve, helping push its leaflets together. Then, he will replace the aortic valve with a synthetic valve, ensuring blood flows properly once more.
Ian has a very high-risk operation.
Ian, you like to be known as?
Ian, aye.
Yeah? Aye. Lovely.
I want to plan an operation that goes smoothly and perfectly from the beginning.
Any chest pain overnight?
Nope.
No? Lovely.
Good to go.
Good to go.
It's 8 a.m. Surgical teams are preparing operations across the Royal Infirmary's 28 theatres. In Theatre 4, Renzo leads a briefing.
Good morning, everybody. So the first patient is a gentleman with severe valve problems.
During the operation, Renzo will rely on the expertise of consultant anaesthetist Colin Moore and perfusionist Charlie Ramsey, who will operate the heart-lung bypass machine.
It's great to work alongside Renzo. He's incredibly talented. He demands the very best from everyone around him, so you have to definitely be on your toes.
Okay. Anybody, any questions? Everybody happy? Good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elliot.
Okay, we'll see you when you come back.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Take care.
It's not until just recently that I've started to think, well, hang on a minute, you know, we're not going in there to get a plaster put on a cut. This is a bit serious now.
Hey Hannah, could you pop that drip on just now, please? So what would you normally do on a Thursday morning? Fishing. Fishing?
Well, I thought that was a nice touch last night to salmon for tea.
But you didn't catch it yourself, though, did you?
Bring your hand up. Is that there for us?
Nice slow deep breaths in and out.
Good. Colin?
Hey.
Are you happy with
Yeah,
it?
crack on.
Well,
Renzo begins by making a 25-centimetre incision in Ian's chest.
take a cotter retractor, please, Marina.
Then uses a retractor to spread the sternum. He carefully cuts the pericardium, a protective sac, to expose the heart beneath.
As a heart surgeon, you handle the heart multiple times a day. However, even after so many years, it is incredible to feel the heart, to feel the power that it can generate. It's incredible what nature has created.
To fix his faulty valves, Ian needs to be put on a heart-lung bypass machine so that his heart can be stopped.
Charlie, are you happy if we start?
Yeah. Sounds good.
When the patient's on bypass, the machine becomes the patient's heart and lungs, so it does everything that the heart and the lungs normally do. So in that respect, I suppose it's It's down to me.
The right atrium is actually okay.
To get Ian onto bypass, Renzo must insert a cannula into the aorta, the body's biggest artery.
Good. Okay, aortic purse down, please.
Renzo creates a purse string, a circle of stitches that will hold the tube in place. This tube will return blood from the bypass machine to Ian's body and brain. But immediately, there's a problem.
The aorta feels quite thin. It is a very friable.
Around 5 liters of blood a minute is flowing through the aorta. If the tear expands, an even more risky operation will be needed to replace the damaged section.
It's already in my mind that I know this is not going to be easy. Suction up, please. But Ian doesn't have a second chance.
Ian's life-saving surgery is just one of more than 100,000 operations taking place across NHS Lothian every month. 16 miles west of Edinburgh is St John's Hospital in Livingston. One of its specialist plastic surgeons is consultant Eva Maidek-Paredes.
I was interested in arts and medicine, and I managed to combine both in plastic surgery, which is great because, you know, one has to enjoy the job that they are doing, I think. Many people think that plastic surgery is more about beauty, but restoring the function that might have been lost as a result of trauma or a congenital problem is equally important.
Eva has a patient facing a serious threat to their life due to a rare genetic condition.
What's that for today?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
She'll be working with fellow plastic surgeon Neil Cahoon.
we're primarily reconstructive surgeons. We are working with other specialties. Every week it's a new challenge.
She was diagnosed with cancer at a very young age, and her cancer had very aggressive characteristics.
Eva's patient was one of the 150 UK women diagnosed with breast cancer every day. Her tumour was removed and she's now cancer-free. But tests have found she carries a rare genetic mutation that means it is likely to return.
This lady will have mastectomies on both sides, which will be risk-reducing, and we will be reconstructing the breast using her own tissue.
96% of breast cancers appear in women over 40. Eva's patient was first diagnosed at the age of 32.
I could go to the other side of Australia.
Western Australia, yeah.
Prop maker Kat and husband Neil were married in New York and settled in Edinburgh 6 years ago.
I was kind of excited to start a whole new life. And that's when I found a lump. Immediately I thought, oh my God, am I gonna die? Which is a terrible thing to think when you're only 32, but when they say cancer, that's immediately, you go, I'm gonna leave Neil behind.
It's a huge thing, cancer. It doesn't just get fixed and go away. It's the start of a huge journey. You know, the big thing being the fear of it coming back.
To treat her aggressive cancer, Kat underwent a grueling program of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy.
I had bad days where I just cried on the floor. Chemo's really rough and it destroys your body.
Treatment left Kat cancer-free, but the recent genetic diagnosis means there's a high risk it will return.
It's called the PALB2 gene mutation, which makes my recurrence of cancer in the other breast at over 70%. So it's not a matter of if, it's when it comes back. It still feels like I'm living with a gun to the back of my head until I get this risk-reducing surgery.
Kat's previous cancer treatment has made her breast skin tighter and tougher, which means implants have a higher risk of failing. Instead, she has chosen to use her own body tissue to reconstruct her breasts.
I think I'd have a really hard time losing my breasts, because what makes me feel like a woman is, having my curves and my breasts. So I'm going to take the plunge and hope that it works out.
It's a lengthy case for her. There'll be 3 of us operating simultaneously.
It is a big procedure. Her risk of having breast cancer in the future is quite high, but also we want to make sure that we preserve the shape, the size, the symmetry, and create something that looks like a breast.
To reduce Kat's chances of developing an aggressive cancer, first, with the areola cut away to gain access, as much breast tissue as possible will be removed. To prepare for the reconstruction, blood vessels in the chest will be exposed by removing part of a rib. 2 areas of Kat's abdomen will be dissected, along with their essential blood vessels. As soon as they're disconnected, the tissue will start to deteriorate. A successful reconstruction will depend on reconnecting them quickly. Finally, the abdominal tissue will be shaped to form new breasts, and the abdominal gap will be closed.
The fact that she had radiotherapy could be challenging on the left side and might have higher risk of mastectomy skin necrosis. This operation is a major undertaking. Sometimes there are complications, that we have to deal with, and they do affect somebody's life or outcome.
I think my biggest fear for the surgery is it failing and I'll have to be flat. I went through all of this and it still didn't work. So I'll be a bit crushed, honestly.
Just a bit scared. Come in.
There is a small risk that sometimes this tissue might fail, but it's kind of double because it's both, okay? We can't really tell unless we are there, okay? Boundaries of the breast. It must be a very tough choice for her because there's no ideal situation. There's always some risk involved, and it's a big decision.
I love you. Thank you very much.
They say it's a choice. It's not, because my cancer will come back.
Okay.
So, yes, it's a choice, but I don't want to die.
Okay.
Across St John's Hospital, operating theatres are being prepped. In Theatre 6, Eva is briefing a team of 14.
Yes, so she is marked and consented.
This operation needs a range of specialists working in teams, often at the same time, including 2 plastic surgeons, 2 registrars, a breast surgeon, an anaesthetist, and 8 support staff.
Hello.
So I've got a little bit of oxygen for you to breathe. So we're not in any rush. We're just going to take our time. Right, I think we're ready, aren't we?
Okay, it's okay to start on our end?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
While Eva and Neil prepare the abdominal flaps, specialist breast surgeon Ollie Young will remove the breast tissue.
A bit of the old hydrodissection then, please. Thanks.
To get access, the areola has been cut away.
So what we need to do is get down to the chest wall. And we're just going down the middle side of the breast.
He carefully separates the tissue from the skin above and from the chest wall below.
It is very important to remove as much breast tissue as possible because it reduces the risk of breast cancer by about 97%. And the more breast tissue you leave behind, the higher the chance of having breast cancer. So all his expertise is to make sure that he takes away all breast tissue. So it's probably the most important part of the operation.
Stuck a bit more than that.
It will give her peace of mind and it will take away that worry from everyday life, I would imagine.
She's got a decent amount of subcut tissue then, so form a nice breast.
At the other end of the operating table, Eva and Neil dissect sections of abdominal fat and skin from the fascia underneath.
Of course, everything's very stuck around the midline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For the reconstruction to work, they must find blood vessels around 2.5 millimeters in diameter, large enough to attach to the internal mammary arteries and veins in the chest.
This is the one that we were looking for, I think.
Yeah. Still too small.
Let's see. We do want one good size artery and vein. Artery brings the blood into the flap. The vein, which is very important, drains the flap.
So far, all the blood vessels are too small.
No, where are you? Where are you?
If the surgeons can't find vessels large enough, they will need to consider more invasive surgery. But that would be a last resort, as it would involve removing abdominal muscle.
It doesn't bode well.
Kat's operation, and the hundreds underway across NHS Lothian today, would not be possible without the expertise of a 75-strong team in the on-site laundry tucked away at St John's.
This is where all the dirty linen comes in from all the sites across NHS Lothian. So on a weekly basis, we get back about 220,000 items of dirty linen.
Every day, the region's hospitals generate 12 tons of contaminated surgical scrubs, bedding, and patient gowns.
My children were born in the hospital. If I ever need to go in, I'd hope that I receive enough clean linen, because at the end of the day, no one wants to be in a dirty bed.
Before anything is washed, it goes through an industrial metal detector.
We get lots of name badges, but we can obviously get those reunited because they're unique to that person. Guys, what's some of the strangest things you've found in the dirty linen?
Remote controls.
Any false teeth.
Phones, iPads, catheters.
Okay, so a fair range of rogue items. So what we've got here is two main tunnel washers, wash machines that you have at home, but on a much larger scale. So the average load is 50 kg.
Each load must go through 10 intense cycles at 72 degrees to kill any bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens.
Once it's gone through the cycle, it goes through a big press. All the water gets extracted out to make the drying time as efficient as possible, and it gets turned into a pancake. It then moves into one of the 7 gas dryers.
Are these ones for the Royal, what they're doing just now? Yeah.
Every one of the laundered items, including 4,000 sets of scrubs, are checked by hand and fed into the iron press.
We all need to play our part to ensure that the patients get the best possible care.
Within 24 hours, the clean laundry is collected and distributed to 12 NHS hospitals across the region.
I'm equally proud of everyone and what they deliver in achieving the service that we offer.
Okay, what's the ACT like for me?
ACT is 55, just starting to run just now.
Just running now. Okay.
In Theatre 4 at the Royal Infirmary, Renzo has inserted a cannula into Ian's aorta and stemmed the bleeding from his fragile tissue with expert stitching.
That's good.
Ian can now be connected to the heart and lung bypass machine.
It's open to you, Charlie.
Thank you.
How's your tail line looking?
Okay, that's a good swing.
Okay.
When the patient's on bypass, their blood flow, blood pressure, oxygen saturation are all completely dependent on the perfusionist. It's a high-stakes environment, and it can be quite stressful at times because we work under quite high levels of pressure.
Okay, going on bypass.
Have you reached full flow?
Okay, that's full flow there. Okay, lungs off.
The running of a cardiac operation is like a concert.
Running 10 nose down NORAD single strength.
Nobody is the leading the orchestra in itself, but it requires every instrument to play their part so that the tune can be perfect. Some cold water, please.
Cold water slows the heart's metabolic rate, reducing its need for oxygen.
Cardioplegia running well?
Yeah, that's running at 500 mils a minute, line pressure 200.
Cardioplegia, a solution of blood rich in potassium, will stop the heart and protect its cells from dying.
Heart is slowing down. Let's stop now, which is good.
Renzo must work quickly. The longer Ian's heart isn't pumping, the greater the risk it will be damaged, causing life-threatening complications.
I'm opening the aorta. Yeah, Charlie, can you stop?
Okay, plegia's off.
The aortic valve is extremely damaged, so Renzo must remove it.
Scissors, please.
But before he replaces it, he will use the space created to access the second faulty valve, lying deeper in the heart.
Charlie, can you increase the drainage on the venous system, please?
The 3-centimeter wide mitral valve is responsible for regulating blood flowing through 2 of the heart's 4 chambers.
Closing both clefts and put a ring in.
Yeah.
Renzo first mends the valve's leaflets with sutures.
Great, thank you very much.
Next, to push them together so they close properly, you place a ring made of metal alloy and polyester around the valve. For this valve, repair is better than replacement.
A valve repair reduces the risk of bleeding and what we call a rupture of the heart, which would be a disaster and almost certainly fatal.
But Ian's condition makes this an extremely delicate procedure.
In any mitral valve, the tissues are fragile anyway, but in Ian's case are even so more fragile. How many so far?
That's 11.
This is a very reliable to make sure that you're not pulling too hard on this too quickly. When you're passing the needles through the tissues, you have an idea how strong the tissues are. And that's a part of the operation where I need to be aware of how much pressure I'm exercising.
Too much tension, and Ian's fragile tissue could tear, making the repair impossible. Ian's heart has been stopped for nearly an hour. Renzo must fix the ring in place quickly and move on to the aortic valve.
Sometimes I have in my mind that I'm almost like in a Formula One race when you need to get your tires changed. And that has to happen smoothly. So I really move from one step to the other. Otherwise, I will end up in a very prolonged operation and patients suffer.
The mitral valve is repaired, but the aortic valve must be replaced with a valve made from a blend of biological and synthetic materials. First, he must make the crucial decision on the size of the replacement.
Then we'll take a size 25 size of this. You need to have sized the valve properly. You need to be absolutely sure that we handle this very carefully.
If the new valve is too small, it could leak.
27.
Too big, and it could tear the tissues.
27, please.
27 magna is aortic. Yeah.
To have the life of a patient in your hands, it is a tremendous responsibility you have. But you need to be able to detach yourself from that, otherwise your emotion might interfere with the technical performance. Okay, the suture, please.
Tiny pieces of Teflon will prevent any gaps between the aorta and the new valve and will strengthen Ian's fragile tissue.
This should be the last one.
Please, 18.
I want to make sure that the valve is sitting correctly and there's no chances of the sutures cutting through. 11 blades. Scissors, please.
Renzo will only know if the new valve is working when blood is pumping through it. Once the aorta is closed, Charlie can cut the flow of chemicals that stopped Ian's heart.
Flow down.
Okay, flow down.
I started, okay.
It's always a big relief in theatre when the heart comes back to life. But basically, you're never out of the woods until the patient's clear of theatre.
Before Renzo can check if the new valve is working, there's a problem.
A lot of air bubbles in the pulmonary veins as well, isn't it?
Squeeze. Gas.
An echocardiogram shows bubbles of air have got inside the heart chambers.
If the air is a lot, it will potentially create a damage which might be so significant that the heart will not be able to sustain the circulation right after the operation. Anything that goes wrong, even for a very brief period of time, can have tremendous consequences for Ian.
If the air disturbs blood circulation, it could cause a heart attack, brain damage, or even death.
Keep sucking on the yellow because the
yellow's still the maximum.
Big and there'll be a lot of air.
In Theatre 6 at St John's Hospital, plastic surgeons Eva and Neil are searching for suitable abdominal blood vessels for the breast reconstruction.
There's a good chance that this isn't gonna play ball. Still too small.
Sometimes these vessels that we want are hidden. I just take time. It might look like a struggle, but it's crucial.
At the other end of the operating table,
There we are. So that is a mastectomy. Into the back of the breast.
the removal of breast tissue has reduced the chance of cancer to less than 3%.
No,
It's a pity, isn't it?
That's good. It's grand. You're removing as much of the breast tissue as you can while maintaining blood supply to the skin of the native breast. We want to try and maintain that native skin to give the best possible breast reconstruction.
I'm going to weigh that, and that's pretty good.
Now registrars Ben and James can start the delicate task of accessing the mammary vessels in the chest wall.
You got a slightly larger bone nibbler.
Carefully removing a section of rib without damaging the vessels underneath.
Yeah, that's effective.
But it's proving a challenge on the left side.
A different feel, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, really careful.
Radiotherapy does change the quality of tissues, and everything is more stuck, more scarred, and more tricky. And sometimes the vessel that we want might be stuck to that tissue, and potentially there is a high risk of damaging that vessel.
This is frustrating. It's just the cartilage just falling apart.
The only way to remove it is one slither at a time.
Let's do it piecemeal.
This is the one.
That's how the installation.
See it in the manual.
Yeah.
I guess that, but
Yeah, I just
Neil is still struggling to find blood vessels large enough under the right abdominal flap.
That's the only thing I had outstanding.
Okay, so I think we are free there.
But on the left flap, Eva has found suitable vessels.
Okay.
Before she can disconnect them, she must check they are providing good blood flow, or the reconstruction might fail.
Do you want to spy this before we disconnect?
Sure.
Okay, ready? Right.
A green dye is injected into Kat's bloodstream, and an infrared camera reveals where blood reaches.
I think I just see it.
Something's shining.
A shiny white reflection shows good blood supply to the abdominal tissue, confirming it can be used to replace the breast tissue.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfusing nicely.
They also check if Kat's breast skin is receiving a good blood supply.
And then the mastectomy
So
skin.
this is the one I'm worried about.
But the infrared camera reveals a major problem.
It's quite a big area. Okay, the other side that had radiotherapy.
A darker, shadowy patch means there's no blood supply to the skin, which means it will die.
It's disappointing, that the blood supply doesn't reach all the edges.
The fact that Kat has had radiotherapy to the chest wall can affect the blood supply to the skin and the underlying tissue. So this was the issue with the radiotherapy skin. It's got a completely black area.
Yes.
So we are especially worried about this area.
If we don't remove that skin, this particular area would become black, necrotic. And we would then have to remove it, because if we didn't, it would get infected.
So here.
Here we are facing a situation where we have to remove more skin and perhaps give Kat maybe less natural look.
Yeah, that's it.
What goes through my mind is making sure that I refer to patients' wishes. What was it that they want to achieve? Obviously, Kat is a young person with life in front of her. And we hope that by restoring the shape, the size, the natural look, Kat would feel feminine.
This is not what we are after.
There is a chance that the reconstruction might fail, and that would mean having the reconstruction removed.
It's a huge area.
In the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh, Renzo has successfully replaced Ian's aortic valve, but life-threatening air bubbles are in his heart.
Just gonna shake the heart a bit.
Renzo's only option is to squeeze the heart to try to dislodge the air.
By manually compressing, we can remove some of the air bubbles. These are removed by a sucker, and Charlie will collect it in his pump and then put it back into the patient without the air.
Happy?
I think so.
There's no air in Ian's heart, but Renzo doesn't yet know if the valves are working.
Okay. Should we try and come off? Okay, come off, bypass, please.
Okay.
Charlie.
That's the venous line clamps and off bypass.
The only way to find out is to allow blood to pump through the valves.
The atmosphere can be tense at times when we're all kind of waiting to see if the surgery's been successful.
So this is where the regurgitation was before?
Or if perhaps we need to go back in to repair something.
It's gone, okay.
And it's perfect, it's gone completely. The valve's working perfectly.
Good.
Ian's valves are no longer leaking, and blood is pumping around his heart in one direction.
The heart doesn't show any signs of not being able to cope. So that's a relief. I'm still on high alert. I've been in this business long enough that I know that nothing is over till it's completely over.
Renzo can now detach the bypass machine.
So Charlie, we're going to take the yellow out.
As he takes the cannula out of the aorta, there's a problem. The circular stitch that should have sealed the hole left behind failed to close.
Colin, could you pace him just for briefly? I need to control this aorta, it's quite friable.
Yeah.
When you have a bleed from the aorta and it's not controlled, a little bit comes through your mind and you say, oh my God, not at this point. There are cases where these tears just become unmanageable.
So NORAD's down from 20 to 5.
5 liters of blood are being pumped through the aorta every minute. If Renzo can't control the bleed, it could be fatal.
So you have a moment of scanning and understand why it's happened. And then you need to quickly decide, well, first of all, to control the bleeding. Usually you use your finger. Could you put your finger there, please? But then, how am I going to repair it?
Anytime in the theatre, if there's a tear, it's always quite a tense environment at that point. I think everyone that works in the theatre knows that feeling. We know when something's happened and something's not quite right, and you can feel the atmosphere change straight away.
If you drop the blood pressure.
Got 100 systolic there.
Just going to use a little bit of pericardium.
Cutting off a piece of the protective sac that surrounds the heart, Renzo places it over the tear.
The pericardium is a very strong membrane that contains the heart. So if you pass the sutures through the pericardium, you need to use them to reinforce your suture so that when you're tying the suture, you're not tearing the aorta.
It's a really unforgiving surgery, cardiac surgery, and anything less than perfection can have potentially grave consequences.
After 4 minutes, Renzo stops the aortic bleed.
You'll be okay. Okay, good. So Colin, we
just bring the pressure down. Yeah, good.
Okay, guys, happy to close the case. I need to debrief. Everyone content? Content. Good. Okay.
A lot of times it's difficult. Sometimes I am a difficult person because I want things, the way I want them. But ultimately, I think I'm very privileged to what I do. And I cannot see myself stopping at the moment.
Nice and gently, nice and gently.
As he's moved to ICU, Renzo calls Ian's wife.
That's not good news. All right, that's fine. You'll give me a hug when you meet me, don't worry. All right, have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
In St. John's Hospital, surgeons Eva and Neil are 7 hours into a double mastectomy and reconstruction procedure.
Left flap off.
As the left abdominal flap was ready to transfer to the right breast, they've connected the blood vessels and have fixed it in place temporarily. They'll have to remove the breast skin that lacks blood supply later. The damage is especially bad on the left breast, where Kat had radiotherapy.
All the inferior blood supply is gone.
To add to the challenge, no suitable vessels for the right abdominal flap have been found.
The more of this we divide, more venous drainage, so
Sorry, yeah.
more of a superficial system.
A more invasive approach is now necessary.
I think this is where the vessel is diving into the muscle, So we're safe, should be safe here.
Eva and Neil must cut a 4-centimeter section of muscle below the abdominal tissue, as it contains a network of blood vessels which will provide the blood supply the flap needs.
So that basically means taking some of the abdominal muscle along with the skin and fat to give that abdominal tissue the best chance of surviving.
But they need to take away just enough and not too much, or else the remaining abdominal muscle could be permanently damaged.
We don't want to violate the natural tissues too much because potentially there is a higher risk of bulges, hernias, and abdominal wall weakness.
So very still, please, very still. Yeah. I always feel responsible for the patient in front of me on the table. Our first oath is to do no harm. That's the main vessel there.
Yeah.
So it's reasonably long, but obviously the muscle is going to create some issues for it. That should be all off.
Flap off.
Flap off.
Now the right abdominal flap is detached. It needs to be swiftly connected to the blood supply in the chest.
We want the circulation to be restored into that tissue as quickly as possible.
Without blood, the tissue will deteriorate and eventually die.
With tissues like muscle, you have a much smaller window before that tissue starts to deteriorate. Okay.
So do the vein first. Let's focus.
Eva begins the delicate task of attaching the abdominal vessels to the chest vessels. Each is just over 2.5 millimeters in diameter.
In an awkward position.
Yeah.
Using a hinged tool called a venous coupler, Eva traps the flap vein on one side, the mammary vein on the other, and binds them with an artery clip.
Just hold it well.
You're working between two ribs, and so you have a small space to work in, so it needs some steady hands and a lot of focus.
The arteries are more complex, requiring hand stitches.
We connect these vessels with a very tiny needle and very tiny suture.
The heartbeat is not helping.
The needle is the size of an eyelash, and the thread is has the size of a hair.
Flap is on.
Do you want to spy this? Just thinking about looking at the
Yeah, we could.
mastectomy flaps again.
10 hours into the operation, the surgeons are about to discover whether their hard work has paid off and if the new breast tissue is getting a good blood supply.
My main issue during the surgery is that the perfusion may be affected to the fat and the skin of the abdominal flap.
Can we get the top lights, theatre lights off, please?
Without perfusion, a good blood supply, the flaps would have to be removed, ending the surgery without a successful breast reconstruction and leaving Kat with limited options.
There goes.
Okay.
Nice.
Shining up again. So that's
Look at the way it's
yeah,
pulsing here.
beautiful. You can see the pulse.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And
That's
this
it.
side is also, I mean, yeah, I think it's
So we
also
got
very
two well
good.
perfused flaps, yeah.
When we see the perfusion on the spine cam, we do feel happy.
Yeah, great.
That is a moment of relief that your flap perfusion has gone well and your microvascular joining has gone well.
We can move on to the next stage of the operation.
Because so much breast skin has to be removed, the new breast will include skin from the abdominal flap.
Certainly take that V out.
Yeah, I'll
Either
take
side
the
of the
V.
scar, yeah.
I'll take the V like this, but it goes all the way, you know?
It's a matter of experience and not interfering too much or damaging the shape too much, and also a little bit of creativity and adjusting and being dynamic, adaptable.
Kat will have the option of more surgery to remove all abdominal skin, except for a small circle, which can be tattooed as a nipple once her wounds have healed.
I feel that this has given Kat the best outcome in regards to a breast reconstruction, and also a robust, lifelong reconstruction using her own body's tissues.
The final stitches complete Kat's reconstruction, bringing to a close 13 hours of surgery.
Long day.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you.
Kat will be carefully monitored over the coming week for signs of skin necrosis or other complications.
Kat's made this brave decision to undergo a more complex breast reconstructive procedure. My hope is that she leads a normal life without that fear of that increased risk of developing breast cancer.
It's been over 3 months since Kat's operation.
I'll get the kindling and the logs out.
And surgery has successfully reduced her risk of breast cancer.
Now that it's gone, it's kind of like I feel so much lighter. There's so much relief.
Her scars are already healing.
The surgery was such a success. I mean, Eva is the most talented surgeon.
My hopes are that she will never develop cancer, and she will forget she had breast reconstruction. The end of it, the only reminder would be her scars, that will fade away.
I'm over the moon with how everything went, and how I look and how I feel. I'm really glad that they were able to give me my breasts back, essentially, and it looks so natural and feels very natural, and just feel whole again. Hey, come sit down. Come.
After years of worrying about cancer, the young couple are getting their lives back.
It's going to be there forever, and I think it would be there for anyone who's had cancer. But I do feel like I can start opening the window and looking outside. What is it, like 2 years?
So we should do that camping trip.
So we should do the camping trip.
Next summer, we might be able to go on a proper big holiday that we've been thinking about, places like Cambodia and Vietnam.
My life was on hold. And since then, I just feel like the world is at my fingertips.
– 14 weeks after his operation.
Don't trip and fall over.
And alongside wife Dee, Ian's meeting cardiac surgeon Renzo.
The valves are now leaking and your blood pressure is under control. How are you feeling? What do you think?
Generally speaking, I'm feeling much better. So I would just like to thank you for giving me my life back.
Pleasure. Nice to see you. All the best.
When I was on the phone, I said I wanted to give you a hug.
Right.
You're a very precious, clever person. I'm very pleased you're in our lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
It's nice to get back to normality. I wake up in the morning now and I find that I've got energy.
I was worried that he would die before the operation came up, whereas now I feel we're a proper team and we love one another, and we hope we've got a lot more time to come.
I've got somewhere between 5 and 10 years, I think, ahead of me now, courtesy of Mr. Pizzotto. So we'll make the most of it.
I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't really matter what you do in life. I think if you do it with passion and well, you will be rewarded. And that's how I see being a cardiac surgeon, as long as you have the patient in your mind and you care for them.
Next time, extraordinary transformations.
I'm in difficult territory.
Surgeons battle to remove cancers and rebuild bodies.
There's not a lot of room to play with.
Taking high risks
As a moment of truth.
for big rewards.